All right, yeah, as far as when this is going to be on YouTube, I'm not 100% sure on that because I probably, oh, I wonder about that. I'll have to call her later and see whether or not she got any pizza. That ought to be interesting. Carl, what on earth is going on here? Why are people sending me pizza? Yeah, but in any case, yeah, here's index.php is really basic right now. All it does is it's just nothing more than echo testing, which does what you say here, what you see here. So that's basically it. And all right, so anyone have any questions so far? Oh, and as far as when it's going to be on YouTube, that's a tough question because I am probably going to want to do a lot of editing before it gets on YouTube, and that's probably going to be a bit time consuming, so it might not be until after this weekend, to be honest. Yeah, all of the GitHub files will stay part of a public repository. Okay, how do I intend to monetize it? If I was doing this really as a venture of my own and it wasn't in any way connected to the learn programming stuff, I would probably monetizing it by actually charging for accounts. I'd probably charge not right away. I mean, you'd want to let the user base get large enough first, but at some point you'd want to maybe charge $5 a month for an account. But in this series of sessions, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to monetize it using advertisement. So Google AdSense, basically. Although it'll still be, it won't take away from the fact that if you were doing this on your own, you could really monetize it however you wanted it to be monetized. And yeah, if you're using basically any web server that runs Apache and PHP, you'll be able to follow this just fine. It doesn't have to be Linux. But one catch on that, the Amazon server I'm going to be setting up is going to be a Linux Amazon server, but Amazon also offers non-Linux servers, so it's really up to you there. But I recommend, especially if you're new to this, just do things the way you see me do them. Oh, and just to show you real quick on this URL, watch what happens if I change it to anything. See, well, that's funny. Let's see. There. See, no matter what I change it to, it's still going to go to the same URL, but if I want to be a little creative here, watch what happens if I do this. Let's see. Now, instead of echo testing, watch what's going to happen. Now it'll echo the URL because I told it to. And this is the premise of how I'm going to have it parse the URL to look for the different things I want it to look for. So for example, if I had something like this, oops, now I could have something that says, okay, find the second word here. Oh, it's accounts. Okay, use the accounts class to proceed from here. Things like that. That's going to be the gist of how this is working later on. Any other questions? And if someone asks a question and I don't answer, just ask it again. You don't need to be running Linux to follow along with me. The only reason you do today is because Amazon was being a bit of a pain and they weren't setting up my account right away. So in the next session, I'm actually going to go through much of the same thing that we did during this session, except we're going to be doing it on Amazon's server. And that will not, whatever operating system you're using won't matter. You can be using Windows or Linux or Mac or whatever. It won't matter. Unfortunately, though, because Amazon says they need hours to approve my new account, well, then we're going to have to wait until tomorrow for that. Yes, it is for free, but they do apparently want you to enter in your credit card details, but only for the purpose of charging you if you go beyond their free tier. But they do offer everything for free as far as they have a free tier server that you can set up, and that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm not going to be incurring any charges for any of this. Yeah, pretty much. The difference between the virtual machine that I set up for myself and the one that Amazon is going to set up is that this one has a nice graphical interface. The one Amazon is going to set up will not. Although it is possible to it is possible to set up a virtual server that doesn't have a graphical interface and still give it one that you can access from your home computer through VNC, but that's beyond the scope of this series of tutorials. But it can be done. I've done it before. Yeah, exactly. Make sure you have one T1 micro instance live at any time, and then it's free. I haven't decided on a name for the project yet, and please, even though people might be tempted to contribute names, please don't, because that would take away from the whole, like I said in the disclaimer post on the subreddit, don't give me any advice, because if you do, it makes things tricky where if I implement it, then it just doesn't make it realistic. The whole point of this thing is this is how someone without any help goes about building something like this. And if I have a lot of people contributing ideas, then the final product will be very different than what it would be if I was doing it by myself, and that wouldn't really be a realistic picture when I'm trying to demonstrate to people this is what it's like when you're building something on your own. How long do I think it'll take me? Well, I'm going to be spending 1 hour. Oh, and correction, I was saying tomorrow's session, but there won't be a session tomorrow. I'm doing this Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. I'm not doing this on Wednesday. So there won't be a session tomorrow. The next session will be on Thursday, which means I've got an extra day to make sure that Amazon actually sets up my account. And yeah, so basically I'm doing this 4 hours per week. And I figure it's going to be maybe 100 hours, but who knows? It might go longer, it might go shorter. And yeah, I will be uploading VODs to YouTube, and I know that that'll be a little while because I've got to do some editing, but I will do that at some point in the near future. I'm going to build my own. So you'll also see the process of building a framework. And yes, the end server will be ran on Amazon's cloud service, not the server I made today. No, I don't have any objection to that. That's fine. I don't have one. I've tried a few, but more just for fun. Generally, anything that I've built, I've built all of the infrastructure for, framework, etc. I haven't tried Node.js, but I have watched a few videos on it. But I don't like JavaScript enough to want to do it server side and client side. Yeah, that's actually a good idea. What I might do is go through the video and find the commands that are important and the processes that are important, and maybe condense them into a little tutorial page of sorts. And yeah, I'm definitely going to agree with you there. Cake PHP, CodeIgniter. CodeIgniter is actually, I think, a really good framework. Yeah, that's good advice. If someone is going to be wanting to build something rapidly and they're new, then yeah, they should definitely use a framework. And if I was doing this particular project on a true professional capacity, like someone had hired me to do it, I might use different tools and methods than you'll see me use, but this is a for fun project, and so I'm working on it the way I'd work on my own for fun project. I mean, you can use whatever languages you want. You can use Python. You can use whatever you want. But I'm going to be using PHP, and I don't want to say what is or isn't the best choice. Every language has pluses and minuses. I think that the biggest plus for PHP is also its biggest minus, which is PHP is a very easy language. And because it's a very easy language, it is possible to make a lot of horrible mistakes in PHP that you don't really know you've made because it won't even complain. There's a lot of ways that you can write a horrible PHP program that you won't know is a horrible PHP program unless you are skilled and advanced enough in PHP to know that. So if you're going out and hiring people, who do PHP programming, you could post an ad, which I've done, and said, hey, I'm looking to hire a PHP programmer, and you get some people apply, and some of them just have no clue what they're doing, but in their mind they do. Whereas in other languages, like say take C for example, that doesn't really happen, because if someone doesn't really understand what they're doing, they're not going to be able to write a C program that compiles, much less that looks like it actually works. And yeah, JavaScript will definitely be a part of this. I'm going to be doing quite a bit of jQuery. And yeah, I mean, you can't really write a modern web application without JavaScript. That won't be server-side, though. That'll be client-side. I'm going to be using MySQL for the database. What I was somewhat tempted to do, even though it would complicate the project a bit, is I was thinking about actually setting up 2 servers at Amazon, one as the web server and one as the database server. It wouldn't be free that way. Of course, someone else would be perfectly able to set up both on one server, but it would also give me a chance to demonstrate some other aspects of IT, like network security, networking in general, how to make things route between servers, how to get servers to communicate to each other, that sort of thing. I haven't decided if I'm going to go that route or not yet. I mean, it won't be that much more expensive on my end. I could always do that later, though, so I'll probably start out with 1 server regardless. Generally speaking, the majority of my professional time is not building web applications. Having said that, I have built a number of web applications. It's just not something I generally do on a daily basis. If I was going to sit down and build a web application of any general type, yeah, I would definitely use the MVC paradigm. I don't know if there will be a stopping point with the stream. The thing about running any kind of real website is that you have to maintain it. So at some point, you know, maybe it'll be not even a clear boundary, but at some point the amount of time maintaining it might be enough to actually fill a session. And it's hard to say. I mean, at some point I might actually use the revenue it generates to hire someone to do that. It's hard to say. I do a lot of things, but a lot of different contracts prevent me from discussing the specifics. But I will say that everything I do is directly related to IT, to internet business, to programming, that whole thing. But I don't think that I don't think that the companies that I work with would want me to talk about that during a live stream about this. And yes, I will be resuming the C courses, and as far as working from home, that's all I do. Everything I do is from home, except for when I occasionally have to travel on site. But for the most part, I work from home, and I only do traveling maybe a few times a year. And yes, I will resume the C courses. In fact, the plan was tomorrow, since I'm not going to be doing this live stream session, I might actually spend a good chunk of tomorrow fixing up the Computer Science for Everyone site and getting ready to publish some new C tutorials. The delay in resuming the C course is that before I can resume the C course, I have to go through the whole thing myself, and I have to go through all the lessons myself in order to remind myself where I was, what my thought process was, and everything like that. So it's a little bit of a time-consuming process, but I'm definitely going to do it. But yeah, I have every intention of eventually finishing the C course. Yes, assembly is worth learning, if for no other reason than just learning it is very interesting and fun. And I wouldn't be qualified to do an assembly language course, and I know that. I could definitely sit down and write something in assembly, just generally speaking. I'm not saying I could sit down and write anything in assembly, but like if I had a project to do and my only option was to do it in assembly, I would definitely be able to get by. But if I was to teach a course on assembly language, I would need to be very much a specialist in fields that I am not a specialist in. Even teaching the C course, I have to spend an enormous amount of time going through specs and documentation to make sure what I'm saying is accurate. C is an extremely technical language, and assembly language is much more so. And I really don't think that a full course on assembly language is a good thing for a beginner. I think that an introductory course on assembly language is great for a beginner, but a full series on assembly language, it maybe not even something that anyone would ever need, but it would definitely be a good thing for someone to have. Well, what I'm going to be using for this entire session is just Vim. That's the text editor here, Vim. You may not want to use Vim. I personally recommend that you learn it because even though there is a learning curve, it makes a lot of things very fast. And if you want to learn assembly language, look for Art of Assembly. That is a fantastic book series. And it even has, I believe, its own mini compiler that comes with it. So yeah, if you want to learn assembly language, definitely check that out. And yeah, I might at some point probably volunteer mods at some point once there's a need for that. All right, everyone, I think I'm going to call it a day now. So, and yeah, as to how I recommend you learn Vim, here's how. When you're in Vim, type :help, and there's a whole Vim tutorial somewhere around here. Let's see. There you go. See where it says tutor? Just go there and select that. And then I guess you just need to type Vim tutor instead of going through all that. So great, let's do that, Vim tutor. There you go. Okay, that's how you should start learning Vim. Just go through this tutorial. It teaches you everything. It teaches you how to move the cursors, how to look for words, everything. It's a great introductory course to how to learn Vim. All right, so I'm going to call it a day now. And remember, you can always put posts onto the subreddit, questions, comments, whatever. And I will go ahead and see everybody on Thursday. And meanwhile, I'm going to see if I can't speed up the process of getting this Amazon account working. All right, so thanks everyone for coming, and see you on Thursday.